With us now, let's get to our interview with the guest of the day. I am joined by the chairman of House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters, Balogun, for discussion on 2023 elections and the future of Nigeria's democracy. Thank you so much for joining us, Honorable. It's about 5 months after 2023 elections, but we are still here grappling with the aftermath. How long will this continue?
Well, thank you once again for having me. Well, sometimes these are making of the political parties and political actors. The Electoral Act has been so clear. Most of the times, most of the cases that we have taken to court actually have no business being in court or being the tribunal. In a situation where you have an election as free and fair and credible as what we just had in Nigeria today, and therefore many people still going to the tribunal. I think it's just a waste of judicial time, and I think the judiciary should also put some. I think there should be fine. There should be fine, increasing the fine they give to people actually wasting judicial period. Because we can no longer continue this way.
So, the truth is the 2023 general election was divisive, but some analysts say it should be time for governance now. The question is, why are most people still bitter about the outcome?
You see, it's not about how you feel, about what the law says. If you go through Yaga Africa report, the discrepancy between the results announced by INEC and their own reports gathered independently is just a 0.01 error. 0.01 error. Go and check Yaga Africa report and many other reports of independent observers. So we were talking about the electoral process. The election is free, fair, and credible. Yes, when people start going to court based on other reasons, like qualification of the candidates, looking for some legal or technical way of disqualifying another candidate, these are areas they are exploring. But well, people are free to actually go to court and exercise their freedom. But it's actually getting so much drain on our economy and the judicial period. There are a lot of cases in courts that most of these judges that were drafted to the to handle these electoral tribunals are supposed to be handling. So I just want to appeal to our people. Generally, we should know when to say yes, we've had enough. If you look at the results, let anybody come out and tell us that, okay, as a political party, this is what we scored in booth A, B, C. And now these are the results being presented by INEC. And these are the errors that we observed. These are the key things I believe should be taken to the tribunal. But nobody, no political party has been saying anything contrary to the results presented by INEC. But all they've been talking about are technicalities, looking for windows of opportunities. And so these are issues, but they still have the right to do that, but we must look at the general implication. But most of the times, there are so much of propaganda outside there. Some parties still tell their followers that we are going to win the election. We won the election. But tell them how you won the election. Because there's much of propaganda rather than being realistic. If you are telling your followers, we won this election, even a person, a far distant third or fifth or sixth, are still talking about we will regain our mandate, we will reclaim our mandate. So we must be very objective at this point in time. People must know when to quit. And Nigerians must know that electoral process, election is just a one-time thing. In the next 4 years, you have another opportunity. So we cannot spend years wasting resources on an election that has gone as credible as what we have today. Let me take you through the indices. This is the election since 1999 that adequate units were created. Before this election, we had the electoral units just in some concentrated areas. Most of the new developments within the country didn't actually have any electoral units. That's the polling booth. They need to go to those old areas, and you get to some units where they created satellite units up to 20 under one electoral unit. So people moved from their areas, maybe about 2-3 kilometers to some places to go and vote. And that's why most of the time you talk about voter apathy. But people cannot. They might go there to register because registration probably is about 2, 3, 4 months. But when it comes to voting, it's just one day. And you know we also have a restriction of movement on the day of election. How do you expect someone to move from about 2 kilometers without transportation to go to the accredited polling units to go and vote? So this last election, we had various thousands of new units. In my local government, in a particular ward, we used to have just 10 units. By doing this last election, it was created it was increased to 55. So that means additional 45 units were created in just one ward. That means people that used to vote in just 10 units and now have the opportunity of voting in 55 units. So this is an advantage. That's why many people were actually coming out. If you see the result, if you see opportunities of people now voting, it's because new units were created. It's the last government that actually ensured that happened. Many other governments have been shining away from it. So we should give that to the government. And prompt release of electoral fund. The law says the electoral fund must be released a year, not less than a year before the election. This time around, the money was actually released before a year to the election. And that's why the electoral process, all their purchases, everything became so seamless. If not for the naira scarcity that almost truncated the whole thing, it would have been so seamless like you've never seen before. And if you look at the independence of INEC too, this is the only time that a ruling party was actually losing an election in his own base. APC lost election in Lagos. To someone, it's like unthinkable. And nothing happened. And we won in some areas we never thought we couldn't have won. So that is when people actually have the freedom. That means INEC was not under any pressure. And they announced the results without any stress. They announced that of Lagos without any stress. Lagos was one of the results that actually came out first, where the candidate of our party, our presidential candidate, actually is from. And they didn't have any problem in announcing it.
Oh, Honorable.
Some years back, it would have been difficult for INEC to do that.
To buttress
so
your
the
point,
independence of INEC was so secured.
Honorable Balogun, to buttress your point, we also saw technology like beavers being deployed for that election, yet the outcome is being disputed. Why is that happening?
Can you come again, please?
I said, to buttress your point, we saw technology like beavers being deployed for the 2023 elections, yet the outcome is being disputed. Why is that happening, in your opinion?
No, beavers were used in all centers. Yes, there are some areas, like we said, you cannot get 100% perversion. There are some areas because of the network availability, they probably they could not use it. And then if you remove all those areas, it's just so insignificant. But majorly, it was widely used. And that's why people could no longer vote as proxy. Before the use of beavers, people could actually go, drive away the real voters, and then they cast the vote on their behalf. But with the beavers now, nobody can actually vote on your behalf. It must be through the real accreditation. So that's why they said this election actually has been the best in terms of going through all the rudimentaries of electionary processes. This is the first time we can say that the error margin actually been so low. Yes, it cannot come without some itches. When you are talking about voters' inducement, it's a general thing. If you talk about intimidation of voters, it's a general thing. It's not particular to any party. And these are issues we still go moving forward. How do we remove some of these problems moving forward? How do we reduce the issue of voters' inducement? How do we reduce intimidation of voters? These are issues that must be a continuous thing. And it's only when you have better information, that means voter enlightenment and general enlightenment of the public, that's when issues like this could stop. But considering the 2023 election is still the best so far.
And earlier, outcome of most of the 2023 elections are being contested in court. Who do we blame for this, politicians or the system?
Like I said, all the issues they are discussing in the court today are not about the election itself. These are technical grounds. Probably some are saying probably the RF, they promised they were going to transmit real time. They didn't transmit real time. INEC said they had an issue. People attempted to hack their server, and they cannot go further on that on the real time transmission because of this issue. Because if INEC had continued and people started posting fake results, it would be very difficult to convince the public that the results were not actually from INEC. So it's better you didn't even just post anything. What we should now be talking about is you all have agents at those units. Let any of your agents come out and say that the results INEC actually announced is different from the one I'm having. They all have the copies. Look, it's just like you send someone to the supermarket and the person got his receipt. Or you send your driver to buy petrol to your car and he said, always get the receipt and snap the receipt to me. Probably the driver forgot to snap the receipt, or probably there was what do you call it? The transmission problem. Maybe it was offline or there was no data or anything. So it could not get it to you. All you need to do is when it comes back, check the receipt and confirm from the petrol station.
Honorable Balogun, discussing
so these are issues that you can easily clear. Nobody, no agent is saying that INEC results collated is different from the one they got from INEC. As long as that is okay, that is the election itself. The means of transmission, yes, could differ. And the law says INEC will decide, not that it must be. It is INEC that will decide most of transmission. That's what we have in the Electoral Act. The INEC will decide mode of transmission. The only thing that we have in the Electoral Act that was actually adhered to is the use of card reader or any other devices, electronic devices that could be brought up by INEC. And that's what covered the use of the beavers. And that's what the law says. The use of card reader or any other electronic devices that could be brought up by INEC. So, and INEC brought in the beavers, which is an advanced form of the card reader, because that one can read your face, on not only the biometrics, it can read your face, and it's more efficient. And it's been
INEC should
be surprised at the results.
These discrepancies. So are you saying INEC should be blamed for all these discrepancies?
There is no discrepancy. That's what I'm telling you. Look at the results itself. I said, check Yaga Africa report. The error, the error of margin in the report of Yaga and that of INEC itself is just 0.01. 0.01 error in the result. All the issues they are taking to court now are not about discrepancy of the reports. They are about technicalities. Are the candidate qualified? Do they have any record that could disqualify them? These are issues they are taking to court. It's not about the result. Nobody have actually contested the results. So an election is about the results. Let anybody come out. You are a journalist. You're following the court process. Where have they actually spoken about? We scored 2,000 so in booth A, and INEC recorded 1,000 for me. In Lagos State, we scored 1 million. INEC gave us 500,000 and increased that of APC to so. So these are issues we should be discussing now. That is the issue. That is the election itself. But on technicalities, yes, that's no longer the problem of the party or INEC. Technical ground is about the candidates. So if you want to dig into the candidates on technical grounds, there's nothing INEC could do about that one. That becomes the issue of the party and its candidates. So it's not about INEC.
All right. So another major issue is most political analysts are not comfortable that elections are being determined by court. They say this may affect democratic growth. Is it right for courts to have the final say on election?
To have?
Did you get my question?
You said to have what?
Is it right for the courts to have the final say on election?
I didn't hear you clearly.
Let me repeat myself. I said another major issue we're confronting at the moment is that most political analysts are not comfortable that elections are being determined by court. They say this may affect our democratic growth. So I'm asking, is it right for courts to have the final say on election?
You see, that's why we are talking about technicalities. For example, if I won an election and you take me to you actually proceeded to the tribunal, and I'm given 1 week to respond to whatever query or question you have set to me, and I didn't respond, and it's probably I am just 20 minutes late to submission of my response. On that technical ground, I can lose the election. So, you see, it's for all of us to understand most of these processes. The election itself is a different thing, and the process is another thing. Judicial process, again, must be a thing that we must all start learning. We must have good lawyers. Your party must start having legal advisors that must take charge of your tribunals. You yourself as a candidate, you must have a good lawyer to look in your case. So if you won an election and you are taken to the tribunal and you don't respond as at when due, on that technical ground alone, you can lose the election. So that's not the problem of INEC. These are electoral issues. It's just about the law. That's no problem of INEC. But if people are actually losing through the fault of INEC, probably if you are saying, from what INEC recorded, it was now found out that what Party A score was about 50% lower than what it should have scored. And what Party B got was a bit higher than what it had gotten. So that is where you're now putting INEC integrity into question. But when you talk about technicalities, it's no fault of INEC. Let's take the Bayelsa case as an example. When the deputy governor's name, when someone went to court, that the deputy governor's name in 3 different documents were all not different, were different, and they could prove that in court that is maybe Solomon I. Jacob in one document and a Solomon Jacob in another document, and the law says when you have such discrepancies, such candidate could be disqualified. So that is no problem of INEC. These are technicalities. So we should all find out how well, we can protect ourselves against all these technicalities. That's why every party must have a good legal department. Even in our parties, whoever you are making your legal advisor must be a lawyer. Then we should be talking about constitutional lawyers. Every party now should be more professional in handling their cases and their parties. So these are technical ground. We have now a situation where we believe that Labour Party, for example,
so Honourable,
candidates
what is the impact of on our democracy?
On their
Honourable Balogun.
Hello? We have a situation where the Labour Party now, we believe most of their candidates are not on their party register as at 30 days to the general election, which they ought to have submitted. If most of them are driven away because of that, these are technical ground, not INEC problem. And that can never stop. As long as you have people who are careless, then they will suffer the consequence.
So talking about the tribunal, the Presidential Election Petitions Tribunal is on the verge of delivering its judgment, and a lot of pressure is on the judiciary from various quarters. Do you agree that the judiciary is under pressure?
You see, these are propagandas. It's not the problem of judiciary. It's either you win or you lose. You see, we must start understanding something. That's what I'm saying. Winning election or losing election is not only at the ballot. There are technical grounds. You have the Electoral Act. Many of us, many politicians and the general public, we don't even read the law. We are not even aware of the Electoral Act. We don't even know what is right and what is not right. In the 2020 Electoral Act, as amended, I think there's a particular clause when you omission of any candidate on the ballot used to be a ground for appeal in the previous Electoral Act. But now in the current 2020 Electoral Act, it's no longer a ground for appeal. If your name is actually omitted on the ballot paper, it's no longer a ground for you to go to tribunal. But in 2020 Electoral Act, it was a ground for going to tribunal. You see, so many things we all have to start learning. As a politician, you must take the Electoral Act as your Bible and Quran. And as a constitutional lawyer, the Constitution, the Electoral Act, and all enabling laws must be taken as a Quran and Bible. So it's what is right today in the Electoral Act might no longer be right tomorrow. So you don't have to be emotional or sensational that no, the judges are being partial. Speak to the documents. What does the law say? Don't talk about what the judiciary is doing. What does the law say? Is what you have done, is it according to the law? As the judges made the right decision based on the law? It's not that how you feel. Some people just feel a particular candidate ought to have won because they have some crowd that they were going around together. Probably 60% of those crowds do not even have a voter's card. They don't even know. Many of them do not even know their polling units. And because you saw so much crowd protesting, and you think you have won an election, and they think an election is just about your ward or your state or your locality. You are talking about an election in Nigeria. What's happened in Lagos will not happen in some other states.
All right, Honorable, let's take a break.
It is for us to be very objective now. Don't let's put unnecessary pressure on the judiciary. It's not the problem of the judiciary if you don't have a certificate and you go for an election and you are disqualified. One just happened, I think, in Kano or Kaduna today. A candidate has just been disqualified based on the presentation of false results. Primary school results, fake primary school results. So is that the fault of INEC? Right. Then you could have won the election as a popular person, but he has lost it due to his own carelessness and fraudulent acts. So such will continue to happen. As long as such happens, many people will start losing through the courts. So it's not the problem of the judges.
All right. Honorable, let's take a break. I've been speaking with the chairman of House of Representatives Committee on Electoral Matters, Honorable Balogun. Tonight, we're discussing 2023 elections and the future of Nigeria's democracy. I will be right back. Mr. With us.